I read all these books in February, so now I get to talk to you about them. Hello everybody, thank you so much for joining me today. I am so very excited to have you here. We are just absolutely moseying on through this year. I don't even know how it's March already, to be honest, but it is. It's literally crazy to me. But I have 2 times on this channel that I know of, at least, that I talk about the dates, and that is for the wrap-ups for the month and for my Kindle Mystery Challenge. And this time we were talking about the November wrap-ups. Not November. I don't know what I'm talking about. The February wrap-ups. So for February, I decided to read just a bunch of romance books. That was kind of just the vibe that I was getting for February. Very romancy month, so I figured why not just go ahead and stick primarily to romance books. So that's pretty much what I did. I think that there was an audiobook that I listened to that was not a romance, but that is just because it just recently came out and I did want to listen to it. That's the exception, but you will see that towards the end, and I'll explain why later. So I do have to get my Goodreads out because there are other books that I did not read physically for this month, and I read a lot of them on my Kindle, so I do have to go back and see what those were. So I started off this month reading a short, sweet little novella book, and it was called Royal Valentine. Actually, upon further inspection, further looking at these books I didn't even know what I was doing and how I found this out. These are part of a, what are they called? Improbable Meet Cute series. So this is book number 6. I read these books for a Reading Valentine's Books for a Week video that is already out. If you want to go watch it, you can do so. So these first 3 books I'm talking about are part of that video. It's part of the Improbable Meet Cute series. This is book number 6. This is the only one that had Valentine in the title, which is why I chose to read this one. For that video, I read books that said Valentine's in the title. Pretty much self-explanatory right there. But this one was book number 6. These are all like standalone, I guess. I don't know if they're an interconnected series or not, but they're all just like little standalone short stories by different authors, which, come to find out, whenever you go in and look at the actual like series, I guess, it's not a series, it's more just like a compilation of different books that are put together. There's one written by Christina Lauren, and then there's also another one written by Abby Jimenez. I think Sally Thorne, if I'm not mistaken, I think she's a pretty well-known author too. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure. So she has a book on here, and then there's another one by Jasmine Guillory and Ashley Poston. I believe that she's an author that's kind of going around right now too with, what is it, the 7-Year Slip? Not sure. Again, just going off of brain power here. And then the one that I read was by, is it Soraya Wilson? That's my guess. But I did read this one. This one was a 75-page book. There was absolutely nothing that interesting about this book. There's this princess of a country that is on vacation, I believe in Rome. She decides to switch places with her assistant so that she can stay in Rome. Her assistant will go back to her country and pretend to be the princess so she can have like a couple days to herself and just get out of the spotlight, out of the public eye, out of her responsibilities, just the whole 9, and just be a normal girl for the weekend. Well, she ends up meeting this guy while in Rome, and they become friends, pals, whatever, acquaintances, lovers. They go and spend the entire Valentine's Day out in Rome together, and they kind of start getting into each other. They start feeling it. They're feeling the relationship. They're enjoying it. Well, come to find out, they're both keeping secrets from each other. If 75 pages of that, like, there's not much, like, realistically that you can do with that. Let's be honest here. Come on. Like, can you really create, like, a really well-developed romance story in 75 pages? You can't. I don't think you can. My opinion is that you can't, which my rating of this kind of did reflect that as well. It was not bad by any means, of course, like it just was simple. I didn't really care for it. There was no connecting with the characters because of how short the book was, which, I mean, I feel like anybody would understand that. But for a short book, they did really incorporate that 3rd act breakup, which I feel like was so unnecessary for this book. I feel like if you're going to just do like a little cute romance book, 75 pages worth, you don't need to have a 3rd act breakup. And for me to sit there and go through that, like, after such a short amount of time, which they've literally only known each other for a day, keep in mind, and then they have like this big falling out between each other, like, come on, like, that's a little unrealistic. I feel like at that point, just go your separate ways, you know? But it's a romance book, so we know how that goes. Then if you spend a day with somebody, how are you gonna be like, oh my gosh, like, you're so the one for me, like, I need to come back and get you? To each their own, right? If that's your romance life, that's how you do. You can fall in love after one date, whatever, like, good for you. Good for you. But this, to me, a little unrealistic. Just a little. So I ended up giving this one a 3 stars overall. I don't want to say that I would lower it because it wasn't good. That's not what I'm getting at, but I don't think that it was enough substance for me to actually care about in the slightest. Like I said, it was just like a book that I read for a challenge. That's kind of the way that it felt. So for me, I just read it, okay, it's done, that's it. Like, I'm never thinking about it ever again, except for to talk to you about it right now. But that's it. So I did give it a 3 stars. Again, it's not terrible. I wouldn't give it a 2 stars because of the actual, like, stuff in the story. Like, that wasn't bad. It just was short and boring. 3 stars. It was just okay. It literally was just, like, whatever. But it was on the very low 3 stars, I would say, because again, I can't get into that. Like, I just can't. Secondly, I read He's So Not My Valentine, and if I'm going to be honest with you, I have to think about this one for a second. Okay, this one is about a guy from France, I guess, and he comes to the States to visit his best friend and his best friend's wife. Well, he's becoming friends with them, but also getting closer to his best friend's wife's sister, who owns a bakery. I think she does. She owns a bakery, right? Pretty sure. I don't know. She owns some kind of business and has like an 8-year-old, 9-year-old kid, something like that. Well, they have met each other before, but she kind of thought that he was just like a weird Frenchman. Like, he just was quite the flirt. She didn't really want to have anything to do with him necessarily, but they decided to kind of rekindle, respark a little flame. They just decide they want to go on dates without having any type of reproduction. That's not reproduction. Wow, that's not what I was trying to say. Recourse, recall, I don't know. Without having to deal with it, right? Repercussion, I guess that's what it is. Just casual. They're just casually dating. They're not like actually boyfriend and girlfriend. They're just going on casual dates together and having a good time. Not reproducing. They're doing all this, but both of them have this kind of underlying knowledge that the female main character, she's not leaving America, like she's here to stay, this is her home. The male main character is not leaving France because he has his business in France, his family, and he's not leaving. So by the end of his stay, he's gonna go back and she's gonna stay here. Not anything crazy. It definitely was not like the best romance book I've ever read. Honestly, none of these are. I'm just gonna go ahead and spoil that for you if you've been waiting like to hear full thoughts or whatever. Obviously, like, you can go look at the Valentine's video. But these just were, they were just that. They were like the equivalent of what you would get out of a Christmas book, right? They're just there for you to get like your holiday kickoff. These, again, are just trying to get my Valentine's Day kickoff going. That's kind of just the only reason why I read them, and I was aware of that going into it. So I'm not mad that I didn't love any of these. None of these were just anything to write home about. They were just okay. So I gave that one 3 stars as well. I don't know. I don't think that there was anything fabulous about it. I was just kind of bored by their romance. I didn't really care that much. I was just more waiting to see who was going to give in to the other person, like who was going to give up their life for the other person. I didn't know whether the girl was going to move to France or the guy was going to come from France to move to her, because obviously, like, at this point I'm thinking one of the two's got to happen, right? Because we can't just leave it off on like they don't get together at the end. What kind of romance and Valentine's book would that be? It wouldn't be one. Honestly, though, I don't have that much to say about that book. I just was one of those that I kind of read and forgot about, and it's not like the other one. It's not like the last one where I read it and it was so short and like that was just really what stuck in my brain. This one, just nothing. It really was nothing. I think I talked about this at one point too, and I just mixed all 3 of these books up because I just couldn't remember which one was which and like what the storyline was for each book. That's how much I didn't care that much for them. So the next one I read is My Phony Valentine. Again, read this one on Kindle. This one is about a hockey player that goes to the small town. He's in this grocery store or coffee shop, one of the two. I can't remember. This girl behind him ends up running to like her high school bully, essentially, and they're kind of talking. The bully's kind of egging her on about how she doesn't have a boyfriend, how she's still in this town, she can't find anybody to be with, whatever. Well, the girl gets really flustered and she's like, well, actually, I do have a boyfriend. Like, he's right here in line in front of me. Well, a guy turns around. He's like, yeah, totally. That's me. I'm the boyfriend, right? She doesn't know that he's a famous hockey player. He doesn't have any idea who she is. He doesn't know that she doesn't know, but he's kind of like relieved once he finds out that she has no idea who he is, that she's not necessarily just in it for the money. She's not trying to be friends with him because she can get something out of him. She's not a gold digger or anything like that. He's kind of relieved. So he doesn't mind playing along with pretending to be her boyfriend. And then it kind of gets into the nitty-gritties of him using her as a fake girlfriend for his benefits and vice versa. So This one I think was a little bit more exciting. I enjoyed this one more than the last one for sure. Just because the plot was better, in my opinion. I thought this one was a little bit more fast paced, I guess. I thought that the hockey aspect between it was really nice. It wasn't like a mainstream hockey romance, I feel like, where it's just so overdone on the hockey. I think it was a very nice balance between the female main character's life and like what she does in her time versus his life and what he does in his time. So it wasn't just like fully 100% hockey and like focusing solely on him and then her fitting into his life. They kind of just balanced the two really nicely, which I did enjoy that. It wasn't just solely focusing on him and his career and stuff. It kind of gave him an even playing ground between her life and doing what she wants to do and his life and him doing what he wants to do. So this one, again, I gave it a 3 stars. I think that there was a point where I was thinking that this might be a 4-star book for me, but it kept going in a direction that I just didn't necessarily care about, I guess. I was more intrigued by her side of the story and less of his side, so once they started getting into his side, I was just kind of like, I don't care as much. Also, I think I've decided at this point that I do not really like the fake dating trope at all. I don't think that that's something that is for me. Given I've only read a couple fake dating books, given they've both been hockey romance. I guess I can't say that, I'll tell you more in a second. But the fake dating books that I had read up to this point, I think that they were just the same. And they were very much just, oh, we're fake dating, like it's not real, we're not in a real relationship. You know that it's fake, right? Like don't get too attached because like it's fake, it's not real, like he doesn't care about me like that, she doesn't care about me like that, like we're just not like that, it's just fake, it's just for show. And I'm going to tell you what, I get really sick and tired of hearing that 24/7. When we have a book that tells us like 20 to 30 times that they're fake dating in it, I already know that. You already know that. They already know that. But like, are they really faking it? No, they're never really faking it, right? So like them needing to express that and talk about that, and I get like it's for their own feelings and whatever, like they're like, oh, I'm so head over heels for this person, but like they don't care about me back because like we're just fake dating. So like I need to drill this into my brain so that I'm aware that it's fake and I'm not hung up on this relationship that's not real. I understand that aspect of it, but to have to sit there and just keep going on and on and on and on and on about it, like it's so repetitive. And it just gets on my nerves. It does. I'm just not a fake dating gal. I've never seen fake dating done right, so I guess as of right now, I'm just not a fake dating gal. Sorry guys, I feel like I probably will offend some people on that one, but it is what it is. Can't help it. Then the last book that I read for the Reading Valentine's Books for a Week video, I read A Sugarloaf Valentine. I think this one is also part of a series. I think all of these are part of a series technically, except for He's Not My Valentine. Other than that, they all are, but they were just like first books, except for that first one I told you that was like book 6, but that's not like series. So A Sugarloaf Valentine, I think that this one was my favorite out of those 4 books that I read for that video. This one also had some fake dating in it too, which wasn't as bad because they were already good friends and they were fake dating, so they weren't talking constantly about how fake the relationship is. So that wasn't as bad, but they weren't like fake dating necessarily. Again, they were just friends, so it's not like they were still getting to know each other or even getting to know each other more in a romantic sense. They were just friends and it was like they were just hanging out. It didn't feel very fake dating to me. They weren't like, they did go out and hang out with other couples and stuff together as a couple, but they weren't like going out and doing stuff together like just by themselves. They weren't like going out to dinner, unless if they were, and I just cannot remember to save my life. But they weren't just going out together and pretending for, you know, other eyes other than this one person. So to me it wasn't as crazy. But I didn't even tell you what this one was about. This one was about a girl. She ended up coming back to her hometown and she works in the Sugarloaf Bakery. That's literally what it's called. So she works there. Her ex-boyfriend, I guess, that just viciously, violently, whatever, dumped her, comes in and he wants to order a custom set of cookies for his new girlfriend. And she's the one that greets him at the counter and is told that she needs to make these cookies for him. And she decides to end up fake dating this guy so that she can try to maybe convince him that, you know, she's over him because he's obviously over her. And I feel like there's probably a lot more that I could talk about, but I don't have much in me right now to remember much about this one. Again, it wasn't bad. The only thing that I do heavily recall about this book was that I was 95% of the way through, right? We're in a love triangle. We've got two men in this book that she could theoretically choose between. She's got her guy that she's fake dating, which they have like no real chemistry together from what I can tell. Obviously, like they're good friends, they're close, they get along really well, they're fun together and whatnot. But like she doesn't have that like mentality of him that much. She's not like super into him. So like for me, I didn't really see where that could be a possibility, but I could see where they were lining it up. Then you also had this other guy, her ex, that she was trying to get back, which is why she was fake dating the other guy in the first place. So we have her ex-boyfriend and the guy that she's fake dating, and then we're 95% of the way through the book, and I have no idea which guy she's choosing. Like, I don't see it coming. And I would, like, assume that, like, it's gonna be the guy that she's fake dating because that's how these books go. But just looking at it, I genuinely have not the slightest idea. So I don't know, that one was definitely a little weird for me. Normally you have like some bits and pieces of each person throughout the book that, you know, this person gets a highlight, this person gets a highlight, then something happens to this person and it's not so great, and then this person gets another highlight and they're like a step up. But then this person like falls a couple steps down, so like now they're back on even playing field and we're trying to figure out who's the better match, who's the guy that we're rooting for. Versus this book, there was really nothing from either person that was really positive or negative necessarily. It was just this guy that she's really hung up on, that's her ex, versus this guy that's her best friend that she's fake dating. And it was a very weird thing to not know who the love interest would be, or who like we're leaning towards, who we think that they're gonna pick, just based on specifically like what's happening in the story and not because of what typically happens in books like this. So I thought that was really odd. That was something that I did have to kind of get over. Again, not bad. It was just a Valentine's book, so there was nothing special about it, so I gave that one a 3-star. I don't know if I gave the other one a rating or not, My Phony Valentine. I gave that one a 3-star as well. Literally all of the Valentine's books I ended up giving a 3 stars to. So just nothing unique there. I just didn't really care about them. But I will mention that all of these were spice-free. They were all clean, so that was nice. Now we're getting into my physical books that I read for this month. There are still some Kindle books that I read here and there, but these are just the bulk of the ones that I read physically. So starting off with these are for another video, which you will see in a couple weeks, something like that. I'm not quite sure, but I decided to read dark romance books for a week. As a non-spice reader, this was definitely very intimidating for me. Sorry if you hear so many noises right now. The guy outside has got his motorcycle running. My air conditioning is just hot and heavy, so I feel like it's just really noisy right now. So, sorry, it's my bad. But anyways, as I was saying, I'm so not a spice reader at all. I don't love to read spice. I prefer to not have it necessarily. I have like a weird taste with it, I guess. I don't mind it occasionally if it's not like a book that's specifically for the spice and it's just kind of thrown in like once maybe to like solidify that they're in love or something. Like I can kind of get behind that, but other than that, not a fan. Which is what makes these next 3 books really interesting to talk about. So I started off that video with Credence by Penelope Douglas. And I honestly don't know what to say, because in these books, I'll just talk about them all. Unless if I just don't know what plot is, like these books do not have it. Like the plot is not it. Spice is the plot. The smut is the plot. That's the plot with these books. You're not getting like a romance out of this. It's purely physical, and like maybe at the end of some of them, like there will be a romance and like an epilogue of like, oh, we got married, like whatever, oh, we're happy together, whatever. But like as a whole, like nothing about this is like romantic, in my opinion. If you think it's romantic, then like great, by all means, like have at it, like that is your opinion. But my opinion is this is so not romantic at all. If I had anybody doing any of this to me, I would be like appalled, freaked out. I would like never speak to these people again. Oh my gosh, like don't even get me started. I literally cannot handle this book. Oh my gosh. So this one, this lovely lad right here, was about a girl whose parents die, and she gets a letter, a phone call from like her step uncle that lives like way out yonder. and he's like, hey, you know, it was in the will or something like that. Your dad wanted me to take care of you if anything happened. Like, I know it's 3 months until you're 18, but I would like for you to come here and, like, let us help you and take care of you, whatever, if, like, that's something that you would be interested in. So she's thinking about it, and she ends up deciding to go and live on this farm, ranch, like whatever it is, with her step uncle and her 2 step cousins. Now, the guy is like obviously like her dad's stepbrother. So like we'll just get in on the technicality that they're not related. Okay, like she's never met this uncle before. She never met the step cousins or anything like that. So we're just gonna use that to justify like the way that this is not as weird as it actually is. Because if I can't do that, like I don't know what to do. So she goes, she stays with him, and like literally, I'm not even joking, like night 1, she meets like the one cousin, I guess, and he just like comes on her. He comes at her. He is like on her. He is having his way with her, and I like, what? Huh? Like, what? And then she's attracted to her step uncle. She's attracted to the other step cousin. And like, she's just doing her thing with all of them. Every single one of them. All 3 of them. At like, huh? And then some of them at the same time. Like, oh my gosh. I can't even believe I read this. I literally can't believe I read this. 'Cause like I said, this is not a me book, right? Not at all. I give this one 1 star. I don't even know what this is. I don't know what I read. I don't know how anybody's like comfortable with this. I don't really know what to say anymore. I just told you what it was about. And like the fact that people are still giving this 5 stars. I guess maybe if you like drop every ounce of information that you have about these characters and like you just live to read smut, then yeah, you'll love this. You'll eat this up. Just me? No. No. Not a chance in the world that I like this. It wasn't as bad spice-wise and stuff like that until like about 50%. They tell you like in the book when it's about to get intense. They're like, oh, just wait until winter. Like hopefully we can control ourselves come winter because we're gonna be locked in for however many months with you. And like you're just gonna be here like our plaything. And then like winter hits about 50% of the book, and then you're like, oh crap, like what am I getting myself into? It was literally, I'm not even joking, there was like some type of scene going on, literally, if not every chapter, it was every other chapter. I need to stop talking about this. There's gonna be a whole nother video for it. You can go look there if you want my full like in-depth opinions on like what was actually in this book and stuff like that. It's not spoiling. Obviously, like maybe I just should have spoiled, to be honest, but I didn't. Anyways, this one, 1 star. Then I went with Punk 57 by Penelope Douglas. This book, I can't even explain to you what this is about. I can't sit here and give you like a brief synopsis of the book because I don't know. Right? I have no idea. I don't remember it, but like as I was reading it, I just didn't get it. I didn't understand. It just so weird. The only thing that I know about this book is that these kids were pen pals essentially. I don't know if they went to the same school or they were like different elementary school and stuff like that, but they wrote to each other as pen pals for years. And then the guy ends up meeting the girl at a party, but she doesn't know who he is. He ends up like transferring schools and stuff like that to like settle his own problems and whatnot. Like he has some reason to be there on his own. And he ends up meeting this girl, and she is nothing like the girl in the letters that she wrote to him. So he ends up not liking her. Like he just doesn't care about her at all because she is, in his eyes, she's fake. So that's like pretty much the gist of what I've got, right? Like this one, I don't think that this one was as spicy. This one was more tame, I guess, in my opinion. The 2 main characters being like around the same age, being like same children, they're not related. Like she's not banging her uncle or her cousins. So I figured that with that not being like a plot line or anything like that, that I wasn't going to dislike this one as much as the other one. But honestly, I think that I liked this one even less than I liked Credence. Because Credence, like, Spice aside, like, say that Spice was not in the book at all, and I'm not saying that I, like, liked it, right? But Spice aside, the book was not that disappointing. I liked the setting. I liked being in the mountains, like, the atmosphere that, like, I felt while reading the book. I enjoyed that. This one, I didn't like any of it. Spice aside, the story sucked. Like, literally sucked. I hated it. I did. I like every ounce of it I could not stand. I just didn't like this book. I was willing for it to be done. I think I read this in a day because I just wanted to get it over with. So, there's that. I gave this one a 1 star as well. I thought this one was terrible. Literally awful. The book was uncomfortable. I could literally go on and on and on about these books. I won't do it. Obviously, there's another video. Go watch it if you want to. But this, terrible. Awful. Then the last book that I read for that video, I read Birthday Girl, also by Penelope Douglas. This one, again, I don't even know what this one was about. All I remember that it was about was this girl who is with her boyfriend, and he gets them evicted from their apartment, and his dad offers to let them stay, and she falls in love with her boyfriend's dad. I'm not even joking. You think I'm playing, right? I'm not. I'm not joking. I'm not playing around. That's literally what happened in this book. Like, literally. I don't know. This one was very odd. The way that, like, the dad is trying to parent this girl, but also, like, bang her. That sentence in itself, that sentence right there, just, gross. Literally gross. I don't know. I literally don't know. The only thing that I can say about this book is I feel like the story in itself and the storyline, I guess, just felt a lot more normal than, like, the other ones. Like, this one was just a normal story if she wasn't in love with her boyfriend's dad. So, I guess that's the only thing that one had going for this one. She had some relationships with her sister, like, they were kind of friends. She was trying to get her to work in, like, a strip club and stuff, so that was, like, something a little bit different, but then the dad was, like, parenting her about, I don't even know, man. It's just weird. I gave this one a 2 stars. This one, again, I liked it more than the other two. The theme, come on, girlfriend, come on. Given, like, this one, she was a little bit older. She wasn't 18, like, freshly. I think she was maybe... Was she 19 or 20? I don't even know. I'm not even going to pretend like that's even better at all, but I gave this one a 2 stars. I wouldn't recommend any of those at all. I honestly can't even believe I finished them. I can't believe I read them. If it was not for a video, I would have DNF Credence, and I would have DNF Punk 57, like, way earlier on. I would have DNF'd them all. Like, oh my gosh, I would have DNF'd Credence, and then I would not have picked up the other ones. That's probably what would have happened. But oh well, whatever. So then I read Say You Swear. I started this one literally forever ago. I think I started this one, like, in January, if I'm not mistaken. I don't really remember, but I think I did. I finally finished this book up. I really ate it up at the first half. I thought that it was going to be a Summer I Turned Pretty PG-13 edition. That's kind of like what I was feeling in the beginning of it, like the whole friends, they have a beach house kind of, like, I liked it. I loved the atmosphere. But as I started going on farther and farther through the story, and once we got, like, into the college setting and stuff like that, it kind of steered away from that, which I didn't care for necessarily, and also it just got really... It just took a turn that I was just not expecting at all. It was just weird. This one was just a girl. She's best friends with, like, a group of 5 people. I think it's like 5 including her. They live together. They have, like, a house together, essentially. They go out, they party, whatever. She's, like, madly in love with one of the friends. The guy friend is kind of in love with her, but, like, is unwilling to fight for her in front of, like, her brother. Her brother does not want her to get with this guy. He's, like, a boyfriend blocker. I don't know. He's just, like, very overprotective of his sister. Like, if any, like, male goes to talk to her, he's, like, about to fight him. I don't even know, like, what I can, like, tell you to explain this book to you. it wasn't what I was expecting. Like, once I first started reading it, I was expecting it to go one way, and then it completely went the other way. Like, I was rooting for the characters. I was like, yeah, and then, like, it kept going farther and farther away from, like, what I was rooting for in the beginning and what I was, like, wanting out of the story, that I just kind of lost the connection that I felt towards everybody in the story. I don't know. It was good. I still really enjoyed it, but I just was hoping that I guess I was just hoping for it to be a different story. It wasn't what I was wanting out of it. Like I said, I was wanting a more mature version or a more PG grown-up version of The Summer I Turned Pretty. And it kind of just kept straying farther and farther away from that. And, you know, obviously, like, it was good in its own story, but what I wanted was not what I got. Thinking about it off the get, I was thinking that it was going to be a 5-star and I was thoroughly enjoying it. But, you know, the farther and farther we got away from my picture-perfect idea of this world, I ended up giving it a 4 stars. Not because it was bad, of course, but again, it just didn't hit the way that I was expecting it to hit when I first started it. Then, surprisingly, I decided to pick up If He Had Been With Me again and reread this one. I started reading If Only I Had Told Him. I started reading that one. I got like a couple chapters in, and it was basically just recapping some stuff that I didn't necessarily remember what happened. And I was like, you know what, like, I feel like I really want to just go back and read the first story so that I'm really giving myself more opportunity to love the second book. Because I really, really enjoyed this book. After rereading it, I did decide that I do enjoy the book a lot more than I thought that I did originally. I enjoyed reading Autumn's point of views more. I wasn't just waiting for Finn to come back in. I was actually, like, enjoying just her storyline as a whole. So I did enjoy rereading this, and I figured that this one was going to help me just really get into that headspace to like the other book even more. So I went ahead and I did pick this one back up. I rated it a 5 stars whenever I first read this one. I would still give it a 5 stars to this day. I think I liked it more reading it the second time. I feel like this is just one of those little books that I could never get tired of. I think just the coming of age, like, sweet romance and stuff that you get from this book is so fun. I love just the childhood friends to lovers. I think that's so exciting. Obviously, like, they went through so much, like, to get to where they got. So many years and so much time wasted and everything like that. And then for all of that to happen and for them to go through everything that they went through, they finally get to be with each other. And I think that that's so fun. I loved it. I did end up giving this one a 5 stars again. I loved it, and I'm actually very glad that I reread this one. I definitely was not expecting to reread it at all, but I did, and I liked it. Leading into, I read If He Had Been With, no, not that one, If Only I Had Told Her. Look, this is my dedication to this. I got both copies before I even read the book, right? And I had been willing myself to get the Barnes & Noble edition as well, because I think as soon as I finished reading this book, maybe like a month later-ish, not even that, less than a month later, I found out that they were making this book. And I was like, no way, you're joking. We're getting Finn's point of view? Like, you're joking. You're literally kidding. No, we're not. No, we're not. Like, say you're kidding. Say you're kidding right now. I loved Finn in this book. I loved whenever he came in, and I loved, like, any scene that they had together. That's what I really cared about. I didn't necessarily care as much about, like, with her friends, with her whatever, her life outside of him. I loved when they came together and they pursued their friendship, like, whatever it was in this book. So to have this book in Finn's point of view, I was ready to eat it up, okay? I went into this with the highest ever expectations I think I could ever go into a book. I'm not even joking, like, not kidding. So to me, this book was going to be literally everything that this book was in his point of view, okay? So me going into it, I have this super high expectations. I'm thinking, okay, it's going to be 100% the other book, start to finish, in a different point of view, and that's just not what this was. It's just not. And I cannot express how disappointing that was to find out. To just open this book and find out that we are starting with, like, Autumn and Finn together in the fort. So we're starting this book off at the end of the last book. And so I'm like, okay, maybe, like, they're just recapping that, and then they're gonna go back and, like, whatever. They're just giving a little intro. No, that's where this book starts. Well, maybe it's just gonna be, like, a really in-depth point of view of that. We're gonna get, like, a lot more of the story of them getting together than we got in the first one. But unfortunately, we don't. I did not read the back of this because I didn't think that I needed to, because I figured that I was just going to automatically fall in love with this book, right? It's just what I figured. Makes sense, right? Well, this one says that it's told through 3 different perspectives. So in this one, we get Finn's point of view, then we get Jack's point of view, and then, as if we didn't get a whole book on it, we get Autumn's point of view, which I will say Autumn's point of view was like completely after like everything that ended in this book. So it's not like we're rehashing anything that we've already heard. But for me to have 3 different point of views and have like this much of the book, this much of the book be Finn's point of view, I'm not gonna lie, it was kind of devastating. I loved Finn's point of view. Of course, we get into Jack's point of view. And honestly, I didn't feel like it was that necessary. I feel like they could have done without Jack's. Like, maybe if we did, like, a lot of Finn's point of view and then we added some more of Autumn's point of view later on, like, that would have been fine. But I wanted start to finish Finn. That's all I wanted. I was expecting, like, a fade to black, whatever, and that's it. But we faded to black and then got Jack, and then got Autumn. And I am disappointed. I was disappointed. Like I said, I really thought it was going to be start to finish the other book in Finn's point of view, and that's what I was expecting, and I feel like that's probably what a lot of people were expecting, and we just didn't get that. I thought that there was going to be, you know, him in like elementary school, middle school, like their, like his recap of their relationship, then his recap of their relationship in middle school, then high school, like then him getting together with the other girl and like their relationship and how like he thought about Autumn like in the past, like during all of that. Like that's what I wanted, and it just, for this to not be that, just, it fell flat. It really did. And not to mention the ending of this book, I didn't like it at all. I did not like the end one bit. There was not an ounce of me that thought that it was a good ending. Obviously, I thought it was going to be fabulous if I had 2 copies and was planning on getting a 3rd. So this, as unfortunate as it is for me to say, these books, I did not like them as much as I thought I was going to. I didn't care for much after the first half. Unfortunately. I honestly didn't even rate these yet. I don't know what I want to rate this because I do enjoy the story. I think I want to give these a 3-star. It pains me to say that. Like, after I read it, I was kind of thinking like maybe a 4-star, but just the amount of disappointment that I had while reading these and after reading these was so unfortunate for me. I didn't even know how to function at this point. Like, I was so excited. These books were going to be my whole personality. These books were going to be my whole life. I already bought them for one of my friends because I was like, you're going to love these too. This is going to be like a fabulous story. And it was just really upsetting. So I do think that I'll stick with my 3-star for these. It sucks. I hate to say that. It's unfortunate, but like, it is what it is. If you've read these books, I'm sure you were probably disappointed too, especially if you've already read this one. Like, it's not what you're expecting when you hear that you're going to get his point of view. At least it's not for me. Maybe I'm just crazy, but like, me hearing we're getting his point of view, this is not what I was expecting. Man, did that suck. So obviously these are all the books that I read in February, but I do have a couple honorable mentions. These are books that I started in February that I did not end up finishing, and I feel like I kind of just like to talk about them, so that way whenever I talk about them in March, I guess, then you kind of know like, hey, I didn't fully read these in March, I did start them in February, and I just didn't quite get around to finishing them up. So first of all, I started Boy of Chaotic Making. This is part of the Wimble House series. This is book number 3. I loved the first 2 books. I adored them, ate them up, and I went ahead and I started the 3rd one. I think this just recently came out sometime in January or mid-February. I think mid-February, honestly. I started this book. So far, it's so good. I love it. It is so nice. I love the storyline of the last 2 books. I love the characters. I listen to these on audiobook because the audiobook just narration is top tier. It's unmatched. I love it. So good. So I started this one just to be listening to while I'm doing cleaning, doing dishes, like whatever I'm doing. I like to keep an audiobook like on hand and stuff. A lot of times it's hard for me to find one though, so that's just kind of iffy. I just normally listen to an audiobook of a book that I'm already reading. but this one, again, was one of the ones that I solely wanted to listen to on audio, so that way I could just really immerse myself into the world. And I, so far, think it's so good, and I'm so excited to finish it and actually get to talk to you about it. And then my second honorable mention for this month is In 5 Years by Rebecca Surley. So far, I started it off and I thought that this had such good potential. Like, the potential of this book was like so good. I was like, I could see myself giving this a 5 stars, like, if we keep going the way that we're going. The story so far kind of midway is taking like a different turn, I guess. So I'm kind of just trying to figure out what is going on and like how we're gonna wrap this up and everything like that. But as of right now, I'm not enjoying it as much as I was in the beginning. But again, you won't get my full thoughts and opinions and all this stuff until March, because this was not a book that I got around to finishing in February, unfortunately. But at some point I'll finish this one. So these are all the ones, not including the ones that I read on Unlimited. Obviously these two are the same book, but I read all of these in February. Let me know if you have read any of these. Let me know what you've thought of them. I really want to know. Please drop your opinions. Let's have a conversation about this in the comments, about what you thought about If Only I Had Told Her, what your thoughts were. Were you disappointed? Did you absolutely adore the book? Like, what did you think? Because I'm curious. I want to know if I'm the only person. So I'm just curious to see what y'all have to say. Also, if you've read any of these other ones, of course, let me know what your thoughts were. Let me know if you agreed, disagreed with my opinions, you know, just literally, oh my gosh. Just literally tell me anything you want. Anything that you want to. Just leave it down in the comments below. But that's it. That's all I got for you guys today. So thank you so much for joining me. I hope you have a fabulous rest of your week, and I hopefully will get to see you in the next one. See ya.